How many orgasms that you had in your life were really only, especially yours? Not performed, not rushed, not for someone else's ego or comfort. Not because you're supposed to, fully, completely, undeniably yours. For most people, that number is shockingly small. For some, it's zero. And sometimes they don't even know it. They are not sure if they had an orgasm. We grew up learning that sexuality is something that happens to us, something we give, something we owe, something we survive. Very rarely something we inhabit. Very rarely something we own. And there are people who dedicate their lives into changing it. And they almost always start from the same place, their own body, their own orgasms, their own sex lives. My guest today is one of those people, a sex coach, telling us how did she realize that sex is something so important for her and for everybody. Gonna make you rethink about what means to become a sexual being. Welcome to Brazilian Pleasure Diaries. I'm Paula Aparecida, your somatic sex therapist, here to guide you in bringing back orgasm, vitality, and the raw, pulsating rhythm of life with a Brazilian swag. My mission to help you cut through the noise, reconnect with your body's ancient wisdom, and reclaim your pleasure as a radical act of self-empowerment. And my guest today needs no long introduction, a sex coach. She knows about it. And she's not only a sex coach, she's also an artist, a scholar. She's also a very bright woman. Let's talk to Jessica Langley, especially from Colorado Springs, Colorado. Jessica, you are welcome here in Brazilian Pleasure Diaries.
Thank you so much for having me.
What was your relationship with sex before you turned yourself into a sexual coach?
You could say that I was a gifted child. I think I was masturbating from I don't know, age 3 or 4, I was like, "Ooh, my body feels good." Yeah, I was kind of thrust, so to speak, into a body that I wasn't really ready for at a young age. I developed very young, had breasts in second grade, got my period in fourth grade, was just turning heads. Men were coming on to me when I was, 11 years old. And so, yeah, I started having sex really young. I also didn't grow up with a dad. So classic daddy issues here. But I often went to sex as a young person with like kind of needing, not really realizing that I was wanting male attention and wanting male energy. But the only way that that translated was sexual energy and sexual attraction. So I thought it felt really good to have all of these adult men hitting on me. And it felt validating that I had self-worth. I felt powerful, as a 13-year-old that I can turn heads. It was my only form of power. And yeah, I kind of realize now, I actually kind of missed out on being a kid and having that innocence. I was really desperate for that attention growing up. And then when I met my partner of 22 years, I realized wow, I can't be slutty with him. I can't let him know that I'm this sexual being. I need to be good, you know? And I kind of turned it off for that relationship. I turned off this side of myself that was really got a lot of pleasure from physical intimacy and sex. It kind of grew into, a lot of self-discovery with him, and it was really a source of safety for me. But after 22 years of relation, we were monogamous for 16 years with some dalliances here and there with explorations to different forms of ENM and open relationships. And we had a lot of long distance over our relationship. But when we decided to open up our relationship, we became polyamorous. And that kind of allowed me to really explore my sexuality and was oh, I'm actually queer. like women. I'm attracted to women too. And I'm interested in like other things and kinky stuff. And yeah, I like polyamory ultimately isn't the right fit for me, but it really taught me a lot about communication and boundaries. I learned so much through those years of being polyamorous in an effort to be ethical and like take care of people, taking care of myself and my own nervous system. But I really tried hard to do this in a way that was like, you know, ethical. It kind of introduced me into this world of sex coaching where, because of all of the research I was doing, friends started talking to me and calling me, asking me for advice and like, how would I, what do I know about how to do things? And I was like, well, here's what I've read. And then a friend suggested, like, hey, Jess, I think you would be really good at coaching. You should look into this program. And that's how I discovered Somatica Institute, which is based in San Francisco. It's a long story, but I ended up enrolling in that program. And through that program, started realizing things like what a boundary feels like, just how raw my nervous system actually was, and how much I needed to change. My first experiences of like, maybe this relationship structure isn't the right one for me. I get to have needs. Being my juicy self is enough. I don't have to change who I am. And I can be a sexual person who's alive in her body and feels pleasure in a lot of things. I can be excited. I have a crush on a guy and he gave me his number. I was asking my friend, when should I text him? And she's like, wait until, give it like 3 days. But I don't want to. I want to text him tomorrow and I want to text him all day, every day. And she's like, Jess, you need to be chill. But I'm not chill. This balance of really wanting to respect other people's boundaries and not push them away, while also just like honoring, I need to be accepted and I'm excited. I'm expressive and I express myself. If this person is the right one, he's going to see that. It's okay for me to be expressive and excited and anxious. I don't have to fix it. I don't have to pretend that I'm not an anxious person.
Food for thought you gave me.
Yeah.
The first
Food for
one is
thought.
we were very similar during your childhood because
Mhm.
I got my period when I was 8 years old, eight, almost 9.
Oh,
I was very tall. I looked like a teenager when I was 9. When I was
yeah.
11, I looked like a girl who was 18 or 19. A lot of men used to harass me. I was very strong, the biggest one in my
Mhm.
classroom. I
Okay.
was like this, my difference of
Yeah.
the tallest boy in the classroom. I used to hit them a lot. I remember that once a guy who was around 20, I was 11, and he was trying to flirt with me, but it was kind of a harassment. He touched me, he tried to hug me. And then I pushed him really hard into the street. Oh my God, you're really strong. I'm sorry, you're strong. And I said, yes, I am. And I also was that child that loved to masturbate. I used to organize masturbation parties with my friends when I was 6, and I was
Wow.
the youngest. I was 6, they were 7, 8, 9 years old. I used to call them to enter into my father cars because my father used to buy cars and fix them. So we had a lot of cars at home, big cars, and come on, let's go inside the car and let's touch ourselves. It was always like this fairy tale. And in order to save the princess, we needed
Mhm.
to touch.
Wow.
It was really nice. Actually, for you who are listening, we were talking about our sexual lives nowadays, and Jessica was telling me things. I'm gonna go straight to the point. I've been to many, many, many Tantra courses, like more than 50 different ones, many different traditions. And in all of them, always when I ask the practitioner, the trainer about the difference between male and female sexual energy and drive, they say that no man can deal with a woman, that we are the owners of the sexual drive. And this is real, this is true. All my last boyfriends can confirm that. Yeah. They can write it down and sign it. I listened that you didn't like to live in this polyamorous way of living, but was it because of sex or because you didn't feel loved or taken care of?
I definitely was not being taken care of in polyamory. I also can own that I'm a pretty insecure person. And so with that comes a lot of needs. I didn't used to get jealous, but I think the jealousy is more about like not feeling like important. I have core desires. So our core desires are the reason why we go to sex, the feeling that I want to have from sex. And my core desires are to feel chosen, to feel precious, to feel cherished. And those are like the three things that are sort of like the antithesis of polyamory because I'm not going to be chosen if he's also choosing three other people. And so I don't think polyamory is a good fit for me, especially if it's like a dual polyamory where both of us are poly. I definitely feel like I have the capacity to meet the emotional and sexual needs of multiple partners. I have not yet met a man who can meet the needs, the emotional and sexual of multiple partners. So it's like
I
a
think
dare.
you didn't find out because it doesn't exist.
I,
It's
I
like
just, I, I, I'm
Santa
suspicious that it exists.
Claus. I'm going to say something that might cancel me, but I really believe that there are two main reasons why men should be monogamous and women should be non-monogamous. The
Mhm.
first reason is about the sexual drive. No man can deal with a woman's sexual drive. Only if this woman is somehow inhibited, is somehow castrated, if she is not in connection with her
Yeah.
sexual energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
If she somehow understands this energy on herself, no man can deal with her, period.
Mhm.
What you're saying is craziness. Go study sexual drive, go study how many neurons and points of energy we have in our genitals, much more than men have. How many kinds of different orgasms can we have? Cervix, clitoris, G spot, like a lot of different kinds, and you don't. If you're a man, I'm sorry, you were born with this body. I wouldn't like to be. I am happy the way I was born. The second reason for me is the patriarchy. The patriarchy taught men to be violent, to not be empathic, to not connect with people. So men, they don't have the emotional understanding, the emotional practice of taking care of people, of listening to people. And in the system, men are taught this misogyny. They really need to learn how to listen to someone, especially to listen to a woman. Not only objectify, not only domain, catch a woman like if she were a game, an animal in the woods, but he needs to learn how to listen, how to take care, how to serve this goddess. So these are the two reasons why I strongly believe that almost no man can be polyamorous, really. But of
Mm.
course, you who are listening to this can change our minds.
Hot take, change my mind.
Change my mind, please.
Yeah.
Jessica, let's go back to sexuality. You have your clients, right? What's the difference you see between men and women in terms of sexual drive, in terms of energy, in terms of orgasms?
I think with my clients, I see a lot of men who sort of like fear their own sexuality because they don't want to come off as creepy or predatory. Whereas women have never been taught to like have desire. And so they're always the objects of desire, but they don't actually know what they want. So it's a really hard for them to like vocalize that feels good. I want that. I want that harder. I want that here. I want that this way. Like saying those things feels there's like stories around women who are bossy, who are dominant. Also, there's this like sort of fantasy that my prince is going to just know my body.
Mm,
Lover will just like intuit what I want and I don't have to do anything or say anything and I don't have to take charge or have any fucking agency in my sexuality. Somebody's just going to give it to me. That narrative, like that's dangerous and also leads to like a lot of fucking disappointing sex. Those are like the main differences that I see.
Once I had a boyfriend, an Indian boyfriend. He was very obedient. Was the first guy I had sex with who really followed every single thing I told him. It was amazing. Like he's doing exactly. It was as if he were studying. I was teaching him. No, is this point? Is the other point? And then, oh my God, what is happening
Oh,
here?
yeah.
For me, it was kind of strange, not only in terms of having sex with someone who really let me lead the sex. But also, it felt strange inside of me to have this position because we women, we are taught, like you said, to be obedient, to be
Mhm.
submissive. It was strange and it was really nice. It was really empowering. Let me ask
Mm.
you something. What does your own pleasure practice look like? Do you have rituals, tools? What is your sexual routine? How do you deal with your sexual life?
So
She's
I have
shy. Look, she's shy.
shy.
I can see.
Well, it's not every day that you talk about this to a whole bunch of group of strangers listening. And I'm like certain that my mom is going to be listening because she'll like anytime I promote anything, she like always will like go and listen to it. So I'm like, okay, mom, if you're listening, feel free to turn this off now.
Or maybe learn something, mommy.
Or maybe learn something. Yeah. I have this, it's an S-shaped like pelvic floor massage tool that I use because I have like a lot of just like emotional kind of tension in my pelvic floor. And so I've also been like having a little private project about learning how to squirt. So, like I've been practicing just like massaging, like kind of like having a somatic kind of ritual where I go into like emotion and massage my pelvic floor, kind of paying attention to like where there's tension and release it and like actually breathing through and releasing, feeling the motion that comes up during that. That's like one of my practices. Another little exploration is masturbate a lot. I have, sort of like my like ritual of like I'm spending time doing this and then I have like my little search project of like how can I train myself how to squirt. And then also okay, I have like 5 minutes until my client comes. I'm just going to like rub one out really quickly, you know. I actually like to masturbate in order to like bring this like energy. It calms me but also like brings the energy up and then I kind of like have that sort of fresh, I don't know, those like hormones that are kind of swimming around me, if that makes sense.
Amazing. Amazing. Of course, it makes sense. You gave me a lot of new ideas. This practice, the first one you told me, I took some courses about de-armoring and it was really nice to do it, but I've never done to myself with me.
Uh-huh.
And this is a good idea. Thank you for sharing this. I'm right now, I am developing my way of having orgasms without any touch and without fantasies, without thinking
Mhm.
about
Wow.
people or stories. And this has been really nice. Sometimes I need a contraction of my vulva in order to enhance it, but I can do this. I close my eyes a little bit and then it starts arousing and it's really nice.
Uh,
It's something I am developing, especially because of bad experiences I had in neo tantra massages. Actually, there is an episode that I'm going to talk about this. You who are listening, the episode 3 of Brazilian Pleasure Diaries, I thought, is there a way of teaching people how to have orgasms without touching them? I work online, the majority of my clients, so that's why I'm developing this. My dear listener, meu amorzinho, querido do meu coração, is your body starting to pulse just listening to our conversation? If so, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that like button and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it, someone who needs to get in touch with sex without being so ashamed, so worried. Let's break the taboo together. And tell me in the comments, how is your sex life going? What are the things you do in order to enhance it? I'm very curious and I'm gonna read every single comment. Jessica, you are a therapist, so can you tell us what was the best sexual experience you had and what did you learn with this experience?
I think that like we've had good experiences and we've had bad experiences, right? When you have the good experience, sets the bar really fucking high.
Ooh.
And I had a boyfriend who just was like he was gifted. I don't know. He taught me he had studied tantra and he was an athlete. He also withheld his semen. Like he would never have a release his semen. And so he could last forever and he had endless patience for me, which allowed me to like go through I mean, I just had like so many like blocks, you know, and I learned so much about myself of like how much forgiveness I can have for myself for having emotion stored up in my body that was like kind of creating these blocks and how like actually like being shown patience to just experience my body to be able to like come back into my body if I'm like losing it and going into my head. He kind of helped me learn how to do that. The best experiences that I've had were with psychedelics. And there was this one day where I think we were on acid. He was, like, going down on me, and I was just, like, having this vision of me being, like, this, like, octopus goddess. If you have 7 legs, how many pussies do you have? You know? Like, 7 pussies, right? Like, in between each
Mm,
crotch, between each leg, and I was just, like, having this vision of, like, having, like, all of these men, like, eating all of my pussies all at once. That was, like
oh
like, the
my
funniest thing.
God.
And then another time we were, like, having sex, and I remember having an energetic I think it was my only energetic orgasm that I've ever had, but we had, like, been talking about, like, these energetic orgasms and what that feels like, and then I actually had one, and it was like I could feel the energy like, I could feel the block in my solar plexus. And then I felt it just like burst through it. And I was like thrust out into the atmosphere, into the stars. And I could just feel myself like being like floating in part of this celestial body. Oh my God. And that was like better than like a physical orgasm. You know, it was so amazing. And so what I learned from that, like after we broke up and I was heartbroken and I'm never gonna have good sex again and all of the like what was me is that like, oh, I did that. I did that.
Yeah.
You know? Our chemistry was pretty powerful, but ultimately, like, the things that I experienced in my body like, was was me. And that's something that I bring into my coaching sessions. This isn't about me giving my clients some experience, right? Like, it's about teaching them, like, how to do this for themselves, empowering them with that
Mhm.
knowledge. So
And it's very important if you're teaching someone how to play the guitar, you are a guitar player. Yeah, because if you're not, you're gonna teach someone something you don't know. So this is
yeah.
really important, especially if you're talking about sexual drive and sexual energy. You said about acid. One experience I had, a very good experience, was with acid, but what I felt, it was like I was just water and the other person were just water and we were flowing and connecting to each other as water. And
Mm.
when I was there, actually, I forgot I was having sex. It was as if I was in another place, in another reality. My body didn't stop to move or something like that, but I couldn't engage. I couldn't realize what was happening in terms of physicality. I wasn't able to feel my body, my vulva, my clitoris. I was just
Mm,
water flowing. It was
mm,
like a meditative state, an
mm.
amazing one, and I had an incredible orgasm. Oh my God. If we had time, we would be talking about good sex forever. Forever. But it's interesting because the best sex I had wasn't with the best sexual partner, because my best sexual partner was with a jazz musician. He was a saxophonist. Do I say like
Oh,
that? Saxophonist. And he was a professional sax player. So he spent like 8 hours of his day just. So he had very good fingers. Yeah.
wow.
And a very good mouth, a lot of stamina, and a very beautiful penis, large, and he had this groove of a jazz musician. And also, he used to call himself a vampire. Do you know why?
Oh,
The
yeah.
first time we were together, I thought about asking him to go to my house, but because we were very horny, like kissing, and then I told him, I've got my period. And he said,
Mm,
what the fuck? So he was a vampire.
mm,
If you come to
Bless him.
Brazil, I can tell you where he plays. And then
You have a bathroom stall with his number written in it?
yeah, I gave his number to a lot of friends. A lot of friends went there
I
and
love
they,
that.
oh my God, he's so good. And I said, I told you so. I told you so.
I love it. I love it. My God.
I
Yeah.
had one friend that she's a very kind friend, but she was crazy. He was so good that she used to have sex with him without condoms. And then I was really angry at her. I told her, "Are you nuts? He's a jazz player. He fucks with a woman every show has a different woman. Are you
Yeah.
crazy? You're gonna have a disease." And she's like, "No, but it's so good."
Yeah. That's rough. It's
Crazy.
hard.
That's hard. I don't like condoms, but you have to use
I know.
them. Yeah.
I
It's
know,
like,
it's really yeah.
and men say, I don't like condoms. I don't get like good erection. Do you think I like it? I like them. Rubber inside of me. No, I don't. I use it because I need it. It's just,
Yeah. I'm always like, "Are you ready to have a baby with me? Like,
mm.
you want that?"
And the baby is the good part. Yeah. Because you can have
Yeah.
other things. Yeah. Let me ask you something. As a sexual therapist in the US, what is the wound you see at most in your clients? Yeah, on people
Ooh.
around you.
Yeah, Christianity has really done a doozy on people's sexuality here. Yeah. There's a lot of Christians who grew up like evangelical who come with so much shame, so much they can't even like talk about their genitals. It's so shameful to have desire to think about women or to think about sex, to think about pleasure, right? Like the Christian patriarchal narrative around sex is so damaging. And that is like what I see most common. Yeah, that's the most common one. And it's just, it's horrible. Like the amount of shame that's present for people. I mean, it prevents them from being authentic and experiencing so much richness in life. It's really sad. A lot of people have worked through it. You know, you see them, but it still like comes out in these ways. They use language like, oh, that's not normal, you know? I have to kind of constantly be on like the watch for these shaming words, you know? Normal, healthy, weird, all of these kind of words that people kind of use. It's just code for shame.
And what do you do with your clients usually in general to overcome this shame you see in US?
You know, shame, this is a Brene Brown quote. Shame thrives in isolation and it dies in community. So we practice things like sharing. Like I'll share with my clients like something like, yeah, I carry a lot of shame around, you know, my anger, for example, or I carry a lot of shame around my anxiousness. I think I mentioned that earlier. It's been a real project to like have acceptance around that. Sometimes I celebrate people. Maybe they have shame around anger, for instance. And I'm going to say, like, yeah, I'm going to celebrate you for standing up for yourself in a situation that sounds really bad and scary. We can celebrate them. We can share in it. And we can also shake our fist at like a system that doesn't allow women to be ugly. Or, for example, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, whatever there's like cultural systems at play. Maybe there's some celebration that needs to happen. Maybe we share in it, you know, and we can share vulnerably from this place. But there's like a lot of different methods to kind of help combat shame.
Here in Brazil, we have different kind of shame. Yeah, we still have this Catholic huge denial of our sexuality. But I think in comparison to US, here the majority of the population are indigenous and African people, yeah, in terms of their ancestors. So that's is a difference, a very huge difference. Especially at the beginning of 20th century, Brazilian government was worried about how many indigenous and black people were here, and they had a very fascist plan
Mm.
of whitening Brazil. So a lot of Europeans came to Brazil only at the beginning of the 20th century. The Catholic Church here, even though they say sex is from devil, you should avoid to get in touch with your inner body needs, because this is the Satan talking to you and overcoming your mind, your connection to God. I think we won the battle a little bit. But I can see here women, they are taught to be very, 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 very submissive. They are
Mm.
taught to serve. They are taught to be a sexual object, while men are taught to be, how can I say, hunters, yeah, and hunt women and collect women as if they were collecting prizes, yeah, as if we were game. Let me ask you something. What are the main changes you've seen since you started your sexual life and nowadays in terms of how people deal with sexuality in USA?
This makes me think of that, like, New York Times Britney Spears documentary where they show footage of her when she was maybe 16 or 18 on the on the David Letterman show or on some Tonight Show, where she was, like, being asked about whether she's having sex with men, and whether she was a virgin on national television in front of millions
Mhm.
of people, and she's, like, a young girl. And I was thinking about, like, how when I was a kid, like, it was so normal to treat women like that and to treat girls, like, let's call her a girl, right? To treat girls like that. And in light of, like, what's being shown with the Epstein files, it's not surprising at all to me that was and is continuing to go on. It was so normalized to, like, slut shame people. Like, I have huge boobs, okay, and I've had these breasts since I was, in middle school. Just the body that I was born with, and it's, like, very hard to find clothes that you feel sexy in, you feel good in, you feel confident in, that aren't, like, very revealing. When I was showing up to, like, jobs, I would get shamed around, like, "You're showing too much cleavage," "You have to, like, go home and change." I was constantly being made fun of, or boys were just, like, constantly talking about them. Just that behavior was, like, so normal, when I was a teenager. And now I actually don't know what it's like to be a teenager today because I'm not a teenager, but I see a lot more awareness around, like, the kind of language that people are using towards young girls and their sexuality. Like, there's a lot less slut shaming, and a little bit more ownership that, like, women are sexual, which is amazing. I don't think there's any real change in, like, body shaming kind of stuff, but I do see a lot more, like, bigger girls feeling confident in their body, and that is inspiring to me. There was a narrative that, like, you to be sexy, you have to be skinny, and I love how much that's changed. Thank you, J-Lo. Thank you, Beyonce. Thank you to all of the Black and Latina girls that made it fucking hot to be thick. Really just, like, blew out that narrative that the Kate Mosses of the world were the ideal body type, because that is not it. That has really been, like, one of the biggest transformations and I think if you've ever read Tina Fey's, book Bossy Pants, there's still, like, this sort of objectification of women's bodies. Like, you can kind of trade in, like, all of these different body parts, but we're still just, like, these sexual objects. Like, that's kind of, like, her point in the book. So has there really been that much progress? I don't know. I just spent last week at this Burning Man event in Southern Colorado called Apogea, and, like, I was hanging out in a G-string and walking around town, or in town, the property, wearing very little clothing and feeling sexy and hot. And a former part of me would never have ever imagined that I could feel that way. The kinds of representations that have happened have allowed me to, like, feel really confident in my body, but then also, like, the, like, ownership of, yeah, I'm a slut, like, let's own it. Like, I like sex. I like I have desire, and that's okay.
This generation learned much more than ours in term ours, no, because I don't like to say this generation, the other generation. It seems like we think that being a teenager is the peak of your life. And for me, it's actually the opposite. Being a
Oh,
teenager was the downside of my life. It was the worst part
yeah.
of my life. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Such a shitty life I had. And now I feel that I am climbing the hill of the peak of my life. Interesting.
Mm.
But I think teenagers now, when you're a teenager, is when you realize, when you understand this sexual energy and what society thinks about this, they are freer than we were. They have more agency, more autonomy. They are not so much taught to hate themselves as I think when I was a teenager, I was, unfortunately. And this is really nice to feel hot all the time. I love this. I love being naked. I love going to Burning Man style meetings. Actually, I was in one, I think 1 week and a half ago, and I'm always the first person to get rid of my clothes. Not the first, maybe the second or third, but I am that list. And if I see someone naked and I look at my clothes, I think, oh my God, this is the colonial inheritance. Why am I wearing this? Only if it's cold, but if it's not, let me decolonize my body.
Yeah.
It's really nice. Really nice. We are getting to the end, unfortunately, because Jessica is amazing. But Jessica, here in this podcast, Brazilian Pleasure Diaries, we have a rule. At the end of the interview, the person needs to give us some kind of advice, some kind of tip, I don't know,
Mm,
some practice. What can the person do in order to, I don't know, enhance the sexual energy? What
mm.
would you say?
I think every morning you should wake up and say hi to your pussy or your genitals or your cock or whatever you call them, and just like greet them, let them like welcome to the day. Like, how am I going to listen to you? How am I going to honor you? Hi. And just like welcome her, welcome him, welcome them.
When you said this, it reminded me the song. Hello, I love you. Won't you tell me your
Tell
name?
me your name.
Oh my God, so amazing. Amazing tip. Please, you follow Jessica. Jessica is right. She gave you an amazing tip. It's very easy. It's a gift. You should pay Jessica for this gift. Oh my God. This conversation with Jessica remind me of something. That the path of becoming fully alive in your body is not a straight line. It's messy, it's brave, and also it's the most amazing journey you will ever take. Here is an invitation right now. Share this episode with someone who is still waiting for the permission of getting in touch with her or his own pleasure. Be the person who gives that permission today. Like and subscribe so you never miss a conversation like this one. And leave us a comment. What was the moment in your life when you first started listening to your own body? I want to hear a story, please. And I read every single comment. And also, if you're ready to dive deeper into your own pleasure journey, I can help you. Talk to me. I am here for this. Go to Brazilian Pleasure Diaries on Instagram and fill the form for a discovery session. There we can together ignite your own pleasure. It will be amazing. Jessica, your final words here. Tell us anything you want to tell us because this conversation was amazing.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I think if there's more people talking about sex in a way that normalizes desire and pleasure as part of the human experience, we can solve a lot of problems. So I really appreciate you, Paula, for inviting me into this conversation and for having this podcast. So thank you. For all you listeners out there, I hope you share this episode and like and subscribe to Paula's work because she's doing great work.
Oh, so amazing. So thank you. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, everybody, you who are listening to this podcast, especially. Until next time, keep pulsing, keep living, keep revolutionizing. Direto do Brasil. Beijo. Até a próxima. Tamo junto.